So Frank, I was talking with Edgar from Cocoon Records before, and we were considering how this situation is quite far from the everyday stress and from the usual setting of your job, because you're dealing with everything that's concerned with time warp and logistics overall. So this is slightly different, I would say, here at High Experience.
Definitely. Yeah, it's stunning. It's stunning landscapes. We love the mountains and the first 2 days, so we got some impressions here of the setting. And now being here in this beautiful old house, which is completely nicely refurbished, but getting back into the electronic music connection and context. Seeing all the studio build up here,
and even the people.
Yeah, the people, and you see everyone's dressed in black, so it's obvious that some techno people.
Bergen, okay,
Right. More or less, yeah. So it's obvious that it's like the perfect mixture between electronic music on the one hand, but in a completely different setting, as you just put it into words.
What were you expecting before getting here?
Actually, I did not completely understand the concept of the High Experience. Because Leonardo just gave me some brief information, and my girlfriend and me said, yes, we are in. So it's a great opportunity to come to Italy, to meet friends again, and as I said, to experience something completely new. And so we didn't know exactly what to experience. It was about the mixture, as we just stated, of electronic music and being in a different setting somehow. And I think it's a great idea, because we have a lot of these business meetings like IMS, for example, or ADE, who are pretty big, of course. Yeah. You bump into a lot of people, but they are all in an urban setting. And to come up with a new idea, or like for the summer season, to give a platform for professionals from this background and also for enthusiasts, I think that's a great idea, and I think it's important to follow up on it. It's always hard to do the first step. But I think everyone who came here will go back to their cities and spread the word about how unique the whole thing is.
What do you remember of your first steps while working at Time Warp, while creating Time Warp?
The first steps, I joined the company like 12 years ago, and my partner Steffen, and Robin already did it for 12 years at that time. I used to be a big fan, so I already went, I think, from the 3rd edition every year. First as a fan, then I was more like a sponsor, because I used to work for Philip Morris, and so I was like the cigarette partner of Time Warp. And what was actually the biggest step for me to join the company was that suddenly I couldn't be on the dance floor anymore. I had to work behind the scenes instead of enjoying it. Exactly, before I was just responsible for myself and for having a good time. And suddenly I was like the host for so many people, traveling from so many countries and living up to also their expectations.
Was it stressful?
It is, I have to say. Of course, on the one hand, it's totally rewarding. On the other hand, it's a lot of pressure, because my partners and me, we are like the promoters who feel responsible for everything. So it's starting from the entrance, how fast is the entrance working, it's leading to are all the artists happy, of course, does the technical gear work, how cold is the beer, do we have enough of that? And so it's numerous topics.
Towers sometimes.
Exactly.
When you work with music, towers is always the main issue usually.
And are they black or are they white, according to the rider? So it's really about the details, and I think also the amount of details sum up to the result. I think a lot of the visitors can't really put into words what makes a festival outstanding for them, but I think it's all about the atmosphere that you create, and that's done by all these details. And to come back to your question, I think that's actually what makes it challenging to organize a big festival, especially with such an international crowd like Time Warp.
You're allowed to leave diplomacy behind. You've also run 2 editions of Time Warp in Italy. How was that experience?
Fantastic on the one hand, because the guests were all so enthusiastic. The Italians, they already arrived with flags and were singing. When they entered into the halls, everybody was singing already and shouting and jumping. And this is actually why we do it, This is so rewarding, and this gives you like goosebumps just thinking about it. So it was fantastic to give our Italian fans like a platform in their own country. On the other hand, it was also very hard to set it up. Because, you know, rules and regulations are completely different.
Yeah.
Also philosophies of working, for example. Or for us it was very hard, for example, to get used to the August being completely closed in all over Italy. So we couldn't reach our bank accountant, we couldn't reach our lawyers, we couldn't reach the Fiera Milano anymore for a whole month. And time was set like in mid of September. So usually August would have been our main preparation season.
Sure.
And we were a bit blocked. And you know, as Germans, we always love to have everything like ready, like weeks ahead and planned. Exactly. And so that's what I mean, you know. Of course, it worked out in the end. So we also learned our lesson, perhaps to be a little bit more relaxed and to focus on other topics in this time. But as I said, you always learn a lot when you do an international edition. But it was really great those 2 years that we were hosting Time Warp in Milano.
Talking about the learning process, I guess you visited so many events around the world. Is there an event that you really consider as a sort of benchmark? Something that's really great and that you admire at most?
Wow, that's a difficult question, I have to say. I think there's always like moments or parts on any festival that I travel to which were totally outstanding and flashing me. I think that's like the core of electronic music, you know. It's about creating this atmosphere, bringing the right people together, having artists who perform on a super high level. And especially it's the magic on the dance floor. Whenever I'm on a festival, I'm not this kind of VIP hang around in a DJ booth type of guy. I always love to be on the dance floor, to get in touch with people, to feel the bass in the belly. And so it's really hard for me to say this one festival is outstanding. As I said, I think all of those festivals where we went to internationally have their special and unique facets.
One interesting thing is the fact that for many, many years, Time Warp was maybe one of the most spectacular events within electronic music. Then, let's say, the Dutch way of doing festivals and the EDM thing changed the game. How do you relate with this? Because you're still keeping your own identity, you're not interested in following the, I don't know, Tomorrowland's path. But how is it difficult to do it this way?
I think we have a totally different approach. You know, it starts with the programming, which Steffen is always doing. It continues with the way we communicate about Time Warp, what Robin is responsible for. And last but not least, it's also about the production. For us, it's about the music. Music has always to be in the focus of anything that we do. And, you know, for us, lights and videos and effects, they are there to focus on the music, to help to strengthen the music, to underline the music. But it's never about only having show effects, for example. And I think EDM is slightly a different approach. For them, it's about having effects like in the center of attention, and the music is there, right? But as I said, we have this different way of looking at it. And so I think it's not like that we are competitors with what they do. We just do it slightly different.
Sure, it's two different sports.
Yeah.
Well, I think I can leave you to the grill here. Maybe it's funnier to eat some good food and some good meat instead of talking about business. But thanks a lot, Frank, for joining us. And
thanks for your time and talking to me. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
For me too.